One thing that you always want to remind yourself is that we're all participants, you know, just as much as Drake is a participant. I know he's the #1 guy right now, but that doesn't mean that you're less valuable than he is, right?
Hey.
What's up, dude? How are you? You good?
How are you?
Good to see you, man.
This, man.
Of course, man.
Cool.
Never been here before. This is great.
Cool little spot.
Yeah.
This spot's new. This dude like built it with his bare hands and shit.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got like pictures in the front.
This is like super in the cut.
Yeah.
How much has your album changed like since? It's been like a while since you showed me all the older shit.
Bro. I know. I would love to play. It's changed a lot. Just like with mad more instruments on top of everything. Right. Mixes are getting there. And yeah, man. I would love to get in again, bro.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm always down.
Like, you know.
That's the tricky part about putting an album together, because you it's like if you're trying to outdo yourself, you're just like after 5, 4, 6 months, it's like you want to scrap the old shit.
Exactly.
So it's like it never ends, you know.
Exactly. People are always like getting you like halfway. Like every time I put something, you finally put it out, and people are like, "Yo, it's so dope," and I'm like, "Thanks."
Nah, I'm better.
Yeah, thanks.
I got some better shit.
Yeah.
Doing the event with today.
Amazing, man. Congrats on everything. I'm glad to be here. What did this place used to be like before this?
Bean sprout factory.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, bean sprouts.
Yeah, these are the pictures of what it kind of looked like when I found the space, and that's how I was able to
Oh my god.
jump in everything.
So this was the outside.
No,
right?
this is all new construction.
Oh, okay. So you put that up. Got
The
it.
only thing that's original is this wall right here.
Got it. It's very rare that you see like a brand new studio build like in New York.
No, I'm really building something. So.
Former bean factory.
Yeah.
Slanger.
What's good, man? Thanks for coming through.
Hey, man. Illmind. Nice to meet you.
Big fan.
Oh man. You sure you're talking about me? Or? Okay. Just me. Man.
Come in, man.
Come on in, bro.
Come on in.
Coming out, really appreciate it, and even just hearing the brief little tidbits of your stories is inspiring for me. It's reminding me like why I do music and shit. Having you guys all in the room, what we really want is to be able to give you guys some knowledge and some information and take away some stuff today to have y'all feel inspired and have y'all leaving with some information you didn't have. So I think I want to just give El the floor, and he can speak a little bit to his experience in the industry and being a producer. Was very humble about speaking on his accomplishments in his intro, but I'm sure that you all are well aware. Make some noise for Illmind.
Cool. Raise your hand if you're a producer, like making beats. Okay, most of us. Rappers. Okay. Singers? Songwriters? Okay. I do it all, like I'm the man. I'm like, no? Okay. And any engineers in here, like Pro Tools, stuff like that? My guy. I'm just super happy to be here, guys. Like I said, I was in your position, long ago, but not too long ago. I'm Filipino. I was born in Jersey. I'm born in America. But having, Filipino parents, technically I'm supposed to be a nurse or an accountant, so they tell you, go to school and then find a job and then you do your 401k, and sometimes that path works for some people, but I think it's really important, especially at your age, to experiment and to find that thing that you love, that thing that you just like wake up in the morning and it's the first thing on your mind. And the last thing on your mind before you go to bed. It's just that thing you're obsessed about. Because like we said earlier, you guys are literally the future of music, right? And so you have this really amazing opportunity to hone your craft, become passionate about your craft, whether you're producing or singing or rapping or doing it all, creating a voice for yourself and gaining a fan base and being a participant. One thing that you always want to remind yourself is that we're all participants, just as much as Drake is a participant. I know he's like the #1 guy right now, but that doesn't mean that you're less valuable than he is, right? So if any of you guys want to just jump right in, yeah.
So I know a question I get from a lot of my students and even myself, a lot of them are interested in that, like, they feel that there's like this tipping point that happens. What were you doing before? Were you focusing on one artist at a time? Were you just working with as many artists as possible? That's something that I know I'm interested in and other of my students.
So like anticipating that like life-changing tipping point and how to get there? Man, where do I start? The way I started was like I put 1000% into me really early. So like I was sort of irresponsible in a way because I neglected my teens, I neglected my parent, like, you know, my parents were super hardcore, like go to school, get a job. I did the opposite. I went to school for a year and I dropped out. I was in between jobs, you know, and so I really bet on myself. And I'm not saying that you should do that, like don't piss your parents off, but if you're really passionate about something, it's really hard to not do it. So I literally just made time to just make beats. Like all my friends were going out playing sports, you know, I wasn't really ever good at anything else. And I was studying guys like Jay Dilla and Manny Fresh and Timbaland and the Neptunes and Pete Rock. And I literally spent 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 hours a day. All my free time was just sucked in to just learning how to make beats. Started selling beats here and there. Rappers would hear my beats and be like, yo, I like your, you know, I like your stuff. Let's work. And some people I would work with for free because I like their music. Some other people I would just like charge them 50 bucks for a beat, and that would like get me by for a couple days to like buy some food or whatever. Because I put most of my time into my craft, I was able to get through the hard times. When I got my first, I guess, win or my first milestone, it was, for me, it was like 6 years later. A DM, I got a message from this A&R from G-Unit. That's how long ago it was. This was when like 50 Cent was like the biggest of the big. I mean, you guys all know who 50 is, right? Okay. You know the old school rapper, 50? Right, MySpace, this is before Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And he's like, hey, Illmind, I heard some of your beats. Send me some stuff. I'm looking for beats for like 50 Cent and all these guys. So I sent him like 30 beats and he hit me back a couple days later. And he was like, hey, we want to meet you. We really like your stuff. And I met him, I came to New York, signing like a little management deal with him for a couple years. And then from there I got like 50 Cent placement on a couple mixtapes, did a couple placements here and there, started making some real money. And then, you know, the G-Unit thing really opened up doors because from there, more people in the industry started becoming familiar with me. And then fast forward to 2012, I ended up on a Kanye West album. So I produced The Morning on the Cruel Summer album. You guys remember that song? Maybe not. And it all started sort of from 2012 and then really started to pick up. That's sort of what it is. It's like I try to send this message of keep doing what you're doing, and if you love doing it, don't give up until you get that first win. And that first win might not come it might come in a year, it might come in 10 years, it might come in 5 years, but once you get that first one, stuff really starts to pick up as long as you stay focused.
So what was like the transition like when, you know, you got out of high school, you go like against that essentially, like when you got into like the real world? I
didn't do it and got yelled at and almost got kicked out, and like I ate shit. It sucked. It sucked. You know, it was a battle between them. They eventually were like, you know, he's not gonna, you know, he's not gonna like do what he doesn't want to do. Let's just like nurture and let him do what he does. It's tough because we're all dealt different cards, you know, like I had the luxury of like living in my mom's basement for a while, you know, not having to pay rent, but like what I had back then, I lacked in everything else. Just be mindful of what you love and what your future could look like, and create some real open communication and dialogue with your parents or whoever your significant others are that support you. Don't feel bad that you take a stand on what you love, because this is your life, and you guys are at a really great age to experiment and taste certain things, and I believe that that's okay to do.
Speaking to young producers, since there's so much limitations with having your music heard because you might have used a sample or you might have done that, what would you say to a producer that, you know, either only likes to sample or doesn't like to sample at all, and just those hurdles, or do you not see them as hurdles and they shouldn't matter?
The sample-scape world.
Don't do it.
don't do it. There you go.
So if you're making music as a hobby, then you should make whatever you want to make. If your agenda is to make a living off of music, sampling is going to essentially fuck you. There are a couple artists who can get samples out right now because they are huge and the budget allows for it. The thing with sampling is that the bell curve is going up again. The projections right now within like 5 years, what are the years, 9, 21, 4 years, I've seen projections that will be almost like half plus our value now as an industry, which is incredible. But that is publicly sourced information, and sample rights owners, so the master owners, know that. I mean, we've been driving Marlon crazy for the last week because there's a record where there's a sample pack that was used. And even that's become controversial because when the record industry and administrators and lawyers hear the word sample, it literally scares the shit out of them. From a creative perspective, I think it's a different discussion.
Yeah, like the longer you sort of make beats and do this, you realize that like a potential outcome for this would be, okay, I'm gonna sample soul from YouTube, TrackLib, all that stuff. You're gonna get better at your craft. You get better, and then you evolve to this point where you're making your own samples. I make loops, I collaborate with different producers, I do my drums, like I make full beats obviously, but if you guys notice, you look at production credits on all these albums, it's usually more than one producer. You know, when you look at Sicko Mode, who produced that?
93 people.
Yeah, Take Keith, OZ, Roger, all these guys, you know what I mean?
I would say too, like from an artist perspective, because this is something I had to deal with, like, right, being this is my first album, which I did through this partnership with Same Plate. So, and my album's actually, it's all like completely sample free. And what I would hope to impart to y'all is kind of to flip it and make it an opportunity is this idea of working with musicians. You know, like really, you know, a lot of my favorite hip hop music has live instrumentation on it. It's a way to see it as like an opportunity to, it's like, oh damn, like my music has to be worse. I think your music could actually be better. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll be forced into this space where you gotta create actual live music.
Either London or Portland, I'll see you.
My dude, it's gonna be great. It's actually like kind of similar to this. Not as like round table vibe, but more player shit, talk, chop it up. The ultimate key to the whole thing is weaponizing your emotions. And when you weaponize your emotions, which you're in control of, then you can become unstoppable. You know, when you're clout chasing, you're making yourself vulnerable. You know, you're swiping on Instagram and you're seeing different people that are more successful and you're like, fuck, why am I not successful? I'm better than that person. You're weaponizing your emotions in a negative way, and it's almost like, you know, having a loaded gun and pointing it at yourself, like you're making yourself more vulnerable, right? It's about your perspective on certain things and changing your perspective from negative to positive and being content and all these things. Then you're starting to weaponize your emotions in a positive way. So instead of swiping on Instagram and saying, you know, I'm jealous or I'm envious of that, you're swiping through Instagram and you're saying, oh, that looks amazing, I'm so proud of that, this person has reached success, I can do it too. Once you switch your emotion in that way, then you're just arming yourself and you're becoming more confident, you're more in the moment. Like if you live life letting other outside things control your emotions, then you know it's hard to gain control of what you want to accomplish, you know. So if you love something so much, it's impossible to quit. Because you're so fascinated and addicted to that thing that how can you stop? You know, if you quit something, it just means you didn't love it in the first place.